During post-production, legal disputes intensified. Questions arose regarding rights to the screenplay and contractual obligations between the producers and writers. These issues complicated the film's distribution prospects even before creative concerns were considered. Jerry Lewis later stated that the project failed financially before completion could be finalized. Without sufficient funds, sound mixing, editing, and scoring could not be completed to professional standards. As a result, the film remained technically unfinished. Lewis also expressed dissatisfaction with the material itself. In interviews conducted years later, he described the film as unsuccessful and indicated that he believed the subject matter had not been handled appropriately. His personal reluctance became a major factor in the film's continued absence from public view. Over the decades, rumors circulated that the film had been destroyed or suppressed. However, evidence suggests that prints and materials were retained by Jerry Lewis. He occasionally allowed limited access to small excerpts for research purposes, but did not authorize public exhibition. The film's reputation grew despite its invisibility. Critics and historians debated whether it represented a lost masterpiece or an unsuccessful experiment. Because almost no one had seen it, speculation often replaced documented analysis. In 2015, Jerry Lewis donated a copy of the film to the Library of Congress. The donation included restrictions on public access. According to the terms reported by archivists, the material could not be screened publicly for a set period of time, reflecting Lewis's continued reservations about the work. This arrangement confirmed that the film had survived physically. It was not lost in the traditional sense. Instead, it was preserved under controlled conditions while remaining unavailable to general audiences. The controversy surrounding the film is closely tied to its subject matter. Depicting the Holocaust through the perspective of a clown raised ethical concerns about tone, representation, and historical sensitivity. In the early 1970s, such themes were rarely addressed in mainstream cinema. At the same time, the project illustrates the risks associated with independent production outside major studio support. Without stable financing and legal clarity, even a nearly completed film can become unreleasable. The Day the Clown Cried also reflects a broader pattern in film history in which creators reassess their own work. Unlike studio-suppressed films, this case involved a director star who actively chose not to release the project despite possessing the material. Scholars who have examined available documentation emphasize that the film's status is not mysterious in a supernatural or conspiratorial sense. Its disappearance from public circulation resulted from identifiable legal, financial, and personal factors. Because the film has not been widely screened, its artistic quality remains uncertain. Evaluations are based primarily on script analysis, production records, and testimony from participants. Without a complete public viewing, definitive critical assessment is impossible. The existence of the film in an archive ensures its long-term preservation. However, preservation does not guarantee accessibility. Cultural artifacts can remain effectively invisible even when physically intact. The story of The Day the Clown Cried highlights the distinction between lost, unfinished, and withheld films. It demonstrates that a film can survive materially while remaining absent from cultural discourse. In recent years, renewed interest in Jerry Lewis's career has prompted discussions about whether the film should eventually be released for historical purposes. Advocates argue that it represents an important artifact of cinematic ambition and failure. Others maintain that the creator's wishes should be respected. As long as restrictions remain in place, The Day the Clown Cried will continue to occupy a liminal status, neither fully lost nor fully available. Its legend is sustained by absence as much as by documented fact. The film's history underscores how fragile the path from production to exhibition can be. Completing principal photography does not guarantee that a film will ever reach audiences. Ultimately, The Day the Clown Cried endures as one of the most unusual cases in film history, a motion picture that exists, survives in an archive, and yet remains unseen by the public. Its legacy is defined not by box office success or critical reception, but by the circumstances that kept it hidden for decades. This film was completed but never released. Its director later refused to show it. For decades, it was locked away from the public. This is the documented history of The Day the Clown Cried. The Day the Clown Cried is an unfinished and unreleased film directed by and starring Jerry Lewis, produced in 1972. Unlike many lost films, the project was not destroyed or misplaced. Instead, it became inaccessible due to legal disputes, financial collapse, and the creator's own decision not to distribute it. The film occupies a unique position in cinema history as a work that exists but has never been publicly screened in completed form. Jerry Lewis was one of the most prominent comedians in American entertainment during the mid-20th century. By the early 1970s, he sought to expand his reputation beyond comedy by undertaking a dramatic project. The Day the Clown Cried represented a radical departure from his established screen persona. The film was based on an unproduced screenplay by John O'Brien and Charles Denton. The story centered on a German circus clown who is imprisoned in a concentration camp during World War II. According to the script, the character is forced by Nazi guards to entertain children and ultimately leads them toward their deaths in a gas chamber. The subject matter was extremely sensitive and unprecedented for a mainstream film at the time. Production began in Sweden in 1972. Financing was complex and unstable, involving multiple international backers. Reports from those involved indicate that funding problems emerged almost immediately. Payments to cast and crew were inconsistent and production schedules were disrupted. Despite these difficulties, principal photography was largely completed. Sets representing the concentration camp were constructed, and key scenes were filmed. Several individuals who worked on the project later confirmed that substantial footage existed, including the controversial ending sequence.